I was recently asked to display a photo in black and white. The viewer said potentially would look better that way. So in this week's video, I'm going to be discussing architecture in black and white. I'm going to be using a couple of locations here in Zagreb to highlight some skills and some things you can do to make brilliant black and white images in architecture and interior photography. Of course, this is all despite the fact that I'm usually shooting always in colour. I'm just a colour guy, you know. So for me, photographing in black and white is a very particular skill for certain subjects. Now I think I've picked a couple of really nice locations that really will bring alive black and white photography. So the first thing is, I'm all set up, and what I've done is I've actually, for the first staircase that we're looking at, is I've put my Canon R5, my 15 to 35 f2.8 upwards on the tripod. So I've just lifted the geared head backwards to give me the upwards perspective. Now let's get in position.
It's a bit of a misconception that I only photograph abandoned places, relics, ruins, and that kind of style of photography, urbex style of photography. I actually am always on the lookout for hidden gems, places buried in our urban environments. In fact, most of what I've photographed over the last couple of years has been exactly that. But when you enter these kind of spaces, you do have to be very respectful. They're offices, apartments, and although this is a beautiful staircase, you need to apologise where necessary, show the people what you're doing when asked, and also, of course, just generally not get in their way, which is something, of course, that happened to me right here.
Oh, sorry. So the first thing, of course, that you're going to need to look for in these kind of locations is a position for yourself, your tripod, that is not going to obstruct. And you saw there where actually I was in the way pretty quickly. I apologised and kind of moved on with it, similar to other locations on this series. However, in terms of photography, of course, the first thing that I really want to be looking out for is contrast and shapes. For black and white, we want to really emphasise that contrast. Realistically, what it's going to be about is constantly moving around that space to try to pick out the best angle that works. Now, you've just seen the light go off as well. That was also what I was waiting for. I now just need to go back in there, go back up, frame again, because the people have left, the lights have gone off. So as I move this camera's position around, and I'm kind of in this kind of position, I'm actually just looking to kind of frame up something with a really nice shape. And that's also what I'm looking for with the black and white photography, is I'm looking for something that would convert really well. Now, if you're struggling to kind of imagine what that would look like, you can, of course, put on a preset in the back of your LCD. And you can actually do that by just going into the menu and putting on an overlay. Something we've spoken about before with grid lines and such like in ratios, a video that I've done previously on the channel linked here. This is a similar thing. It doesn't affect the actual raw file. It's just like a preset that's applied to the JPEG that you're looking at on the back of the LCD. But it would give you a kind of look and feel as to what it's going to feel like in black and white. Let's activate that. So to get to that, what you can do is actually just go into the menu here. You can go across to number 3 on the camera icon on the Canon R5, and you can go down to where it says picture style. And currently, of course, I have it set to standard. In here, you'll get lots of presets, but actually the one you're looking for, of course, is monochrome. And you set to that, and when you look at the back of the LCD, of course, everything is now going to be in black and white.
Okay, so we have to be patient to get to this point. Lights are now off though. We've got the place to ourselves. Our camera's on our tripod. It's locked down and we're pointing upwards. At this point, it's just a case about using your kind of eye on the back of the LCD, getting it on live view, framing up, moving through our focal length, zooming in, zooming out, moving our camera's position on the tripod to kind of frame something up that you're happy with, that you're pleased with. Now, some of the tips that I can give you about on the tripod is, of course, flipping out the LCD, and on top of that, just sometimes stepping away from looking at the back of the LCD. Looking where the camera is positioned. Is it in the center? Is it where you want it to be? And what I mean by that is stepping away from the tripod, looking at the tripod's actual position. All of these things can help get something that's really, really nice.
The only thing I have got in my way here is there's a window here which I'm actually zoomed in to 35mm to eliminate. I don't actually need to crouch down either. I could actually just flip out my screen here to be able to look at that shot going upwards. I'm quite happy with this shot. Okay then, so let's move to another location and I'll give you some tips, some more tips on black and white photography. Okay, so I'm at the next location. There's another cool staircase hidden in Zagreb, and this time I'm going to be using my camera handheld, something I don't do very often on this channel, but there's a reason for that. And when it comes to handheld shooting architecture, of course, with modern cameras it's becoming much, much easier. What we want to do is we want to look to boost the ISO up, something like 32, 6400, and then keep that f8. That's a consistent throughout. Our shutter speed can then be much quicker because of the ISO, and then we can use our hands to sort of frame things up. For this as well, I'm going to be using my 15 to 35, and I want to be getting up there and looking down a little. Let's move. Now, so in terms of the other space, moving around, looking around for interesting visuals, it's exactly what I've done in here. I'm being a little bit quiet because, again, it's a residential building. Now, there is not particularly pleasing light coming in through the windows on my left side. However, I still think my framing is going to suit the black and white scene. I'm going all the way up to 3200 f8, testing my shutter speed out on the stairs here. It's 1/200 of a second, perfect. I've accidentally got my 10-second timer on from a selfie I took a little earlier for this thumbnail. Let's turn that off, shall we? Let's get it on high speed continuous. It's also going to help us. Back in position, same thing as before. I'm going to lock down my focus. Now, that's without bracketing. Put 3 brackets on, 1 stop apart. It's just going to give me a little bit of dynamic range to play with. And yeah, realistically, that should be enough. Let's frame up again.
And then sometimes luck is just on your side. The light went behind a cloud. We got rid of all of that harsh lighting. And there we are. Be in it to win it.
At this point, it really is just about moving around, pulling my frame around, constantly looking at the live view and framing something up spectacular. I actually want to be a little bit lower in frame, to be honest. I feel like somewhere here is probably much better. I think we've done it. Fantastic. Okay, so what about other black and white images? Do they work in these kind of locations, in other architecture spaces? Well, here in Croatia, I actually photograph quite a lot of black and white images, especially here in Zagreb. I'm going to edit them up, put them on the screen for you now, and talk you through them, as well as give you some tips on post-processing.
Now, there's a reason why I love colour images. There's something that draws me to it. There's the pop, the vibrancy in some of these locations that I go. I want to bring that detail, colours in particular, out of the architecture. But some of the things that I do in kind of editing, interiors, holds true with black and white too. And of course, there's a few ways to do black and white editing. Pulling down your vibrancy, your saturation, simple ways to do things, and then just boosting your contrast, your blacks, your whites, and so on. But you could also look at tools like Nik Software has some amazing presets, and in particular, Silver Effects Pro. That would be probably my starting point, and that's exactly what I did with these images too.
Okay, so that pretty much concludes today. It's been a pleasure taking you around Zagreb with me, photographing these cool staircases. I think they suit black and white. What are your thoughts? Leave some comments down below. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, I hope you're enjoying the Balkans series so far, and there's much more to come. Until next time, bye-bye for now.